We have Sue re-signing with the Bucs. Terms to come on that. We have Donovan Smith with the contract extension since we've last met as well. Ryan Suckup is back with the Super Bowl champions here to stay. Our kicker. You are tuned in to the Buccateers podcast. We have a great show for you guys tonight. We have a lot of things to talk about. And yeah, we may even have a potential season ticket holder in this group join down the line. We have NFL draft talk as well. We have a lot of good things to talk about. So let's do that. Let's talk about it. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Buccateers, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Tampa Tones, and we are joined by the crew tonight. We have an exciting conversation list on the table tonight. We got Bucco the Bruce, Cody G, Stunna in the house, and we are going to be talking about who's staying on the Bucs, who might as well be staying in the near future, and who we might be drafting. A couple other things as well. We're going to be talking giveaways, our T-shirts, our first ever T-shirts, and we're going to just be having a great time shooting the shit tonight on the Buccateers. It's been a while since it's been just the crew. I always cherish these moments of just the crew because we do have fantastic conversations. You could follow us on Twitter at Buccateers. You could follow us on YouTube at Buccateers Podcast if you search for us. We are members of the TSPN, the Times Skew Podcast Network, and you could catch us on Spotify, Google, Apple as well. Without further ado, crew, how we doing? We have more names back to the table. We have Donovan Smith extension. Cody talked about that a couple shows back, may I add. He said Jensen Smith, a couple of names, I believe. He said, watch out for these extensions. So good job, Cody. Guys, more guys back to the pirate ship for the defending Super Bowl champs. Let's celebrate to that.
Absolutely. Sir, that's good stuff. Smith he was shaky at first in his career, but I always felt like he was at least average. But like last year, I would say he's top 10. Like I would challenge somebody to name me 10 better left tackles in the league than Donovan Smith without like being arguing like, oh, well, he might be like, he's one of the better left tackles. He was in a vertical offense. People like, they gave like excuses for Jameis having to hold on to the ball. It's tough to, those slow developing routes and all that. Well, it's the same for the left tackle. He's going up against, typically the best pass rusher and having to hold his block for a long time. We saw a quarterback much better with pre-snap reads and getting the ball out quicker, and Donovan's play shot up. So I'm definitely happy. And plus, eased up some cap space. So good thing, good move.
Yeah, no, I mean, the good call by you, Cody. Obviously, we're able to drop these great nuggets because I'm, absent sometimes. So I'll let you take my shine. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. Donovan Smith, you're not going to draft a better left tackle in the next couple of years because it took him 4 years to develop and become what he is now. So you don't really want to go through that again. And then Jensen, you can't tell me he's not a top 3, at worst, top 5 center in this league. So those guys going into the last year of their contract, that was a no-brainer that, hey, this is how we free up money by extending them, play that funny money voided contract stuff, which, to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of. I think you can only kick that can down the road so far before it bites you in the ass. But it's a no-brainer. I think Jensen is next, like Cody said, and that's going to free up the money to bring in either A.B., Fournette, or both. So Mike Greenberg, Jacqueline Williams, keep doing the great work you're doing. We love it.
Yeah, keep doing the work you're doing, as Bucco said. Geez, Bucco, I hope you could get a little bit louder. I mean, I love talking to you, buddy, but you are a little faint at the very moment. But it would be amazing to have such Lenny F and AB back as well as the rest of the crew. Yep, there. Um, Bucco, oh, there goes Bucco. Bucco's left the building, but anyhow, I don't know if he was faint for you guys. He was a little faint for me. Nonetheless, left tackle contracts. I want to talk these with you guys real quick. Trent Williams is the highest paid left tackle in the NFL at the given moment, $23 million a year, a little over $23 million a year. Then David Bakhtiari on the Packers, $23 million a year. Laramie Tunsil, $22 million a year. Ronnie Staley, $19 million and change a year. Garrett Bowles, $17 million a year. So Donovan Smith's contract extension, guys. How do you think it compares to some of these other guys we named? Stunna, we'll start with you here, then we'll go to Cody. Yeah, so Bucco has left the building. We hope to be joined in by him next week. He said technical difficulties. We're sorry for those technical difficulties. But Stunna, left tackle. What do you think of Donovan Smith's contract as it weighs up to perhaps a Trent Williams and $23 million a year, or, David Bakhtiari at $22 million a year, Laramie Tunsil $22 million a year, and so forth?
What was Smith's number?
Smith's contract details exactly. Let me pull them up. I don't know if they're exactly out yet, unless Cody has them on hand, but let me
I want to
see.
say it was like 31 over 2 years, something in that neighborhood, 16, around 16 a year, I think, but I could definitely be wrong.
I was gonna say this update the site doesn't have it updated yet, but it does say $31.8 million contract extension through 2023 that includes $30 million guaranteed. So Cody, you're right, it's right under the $16 million mark, so it's like 15 point something. So, $8 million less than a Trent Williams type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you have to be a real elite player in the NFL to be a non-quarterback to make over $20 million. And if he's making less than Tunsil, he's definitely better than Tunsil. So we definitely got a bargain in that. And this is what winning culture does. This is what winning teams do. You re-sign your draft picks. We re-signed Levante draft pick, Godwin draft pick. The guys were extended draft picks. So you have to be able to draft well in order to build that winning culture. And I love Donovan. I loved him in the Senior Bowl, and I like where we drafted him. He's been nothing but a true professional for us. And he could have sat out this year with COVID, and he went against his own convictions because he knew we had a special squad. So for him to embrace our city, he could have left here if he wanted to, but he likes it here, and that's a good thing. And we didn't always have that in Tampa. We didn't always have people that wanted to be here. Most of them got out of here as soon as they could, from the old days. So I think it's great. I think, like Devin White said in his tweet today, they got a whole defense back. I think we only lost Cottrell and AAA off the defense. So I think we're doing great. And then we could get in the draft. We could take an edge player the first round and improve our defense. So, I think sky's the limit. I think it's a great time to be a Bucs fan. It's a great time to listen to Buccateers podcast.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm very excited about the Donovan Smith extension. I think he's better as Tunsil as well. We got more bang for our buck, although a lot of criticism before last season started. He was never that bad in the NFL, and he's performed time to time. It's really hard when a quarterback holds the ball as long as Jameis Winston did, and that's not a knock on Winston by any means, but when you're left tackle and you're protecting a quarterback's blind side and they're creating and running into sacks themselves, that's going to look bad on your resume. That's like being a security guard, fighting off a guy so long, but, eventually the guy's going to escape. It's the same thing being a left tackle. Donovan Smith did what he can, and he earned himself an extension. Playing with Tom Brady helped him a lot. Tom Brady gets rid of the ball very quick. I think either Cody, maybe A-Cats perhaps alluded to it on last week's show, that with Jameis in New Orleans starting or Taysom in New Orleans starting, Saints O-line might decline a little bit. Cody, I know you're excited about Donovan Smith coming back to Tampa. How does that impact their hopes of running it back? Donovan Smith, the left tackle, I know a lot of people wanted him out last year. Several people we know on Twitter especially. What do you think behind the idea of having him back as our left tackle?
Well, it's perfect. One, just the camaraderie, keep the O-line together, but the other thing is underrated is dude's a warrior. I don't think he's missed a game in his career. I don't think he's ever once missed a start or a game. I remember he came out for a few plays, and I think it was like the Lions game a year or two ago. But so yeah, he's underrated run blocker, especially get him out in space. He's a good left tackle. The guys you named and their contracts, I would take Donovan Smith and the $8 million extra any day. I would put him in the next tier. The guys you named, they're probably, most people would agree they're probably about the best. And I would have him in the next tier. I would argue those guys are overpaid, and he's probably paid, right where he should be. It's money well spent to me. And I think, like the rest of the offense, I think he'll be better. Another year in the system. He knows Tom Brady better, the offense, the stuff we're changing, and just I expect the offense as a whole to be better. And, had he not come back, I'm not sure I'd say that.
Yeah, and now hopefully we could do the same thing with Jensen as he's set to become a free agent next year. I know you've been a big advocate of extending Jensen to perhaps create some cap, because next year we're going to have a big free agency class as well. Carlton Davis is scheduled to become one. Ronald Jones is scheduled to become one. O.J. Howard would set to be a free agent next year. The list really goes on, but we got to enjoy this year for what it is. We extended a would-be free agent in Donovan Smith, so we could do the same perhaps with Ryan Jensen or some of these other guys as well. It'll be interesting to see. The Buccaneers did re-sign another threat, this time on the defensive side of the ball today as well. It's not official yet, but it's expected to be official next week, according to reports. Ndamukong Suh has re-signed with the Buccaneers. Apparently, it's a one-year deal worth base salary $8 million, and it could go up to $10 million. Suh did negotiate this contract by himself. I think he did a pretty good job with that money and deal he worked out. He did play well last year, but that's still pretty good money for his age especially. There is more avoidableness to this contract, as we have seen with a lot of these contracts so far this offseason, and as we've talked about on the Buccateers with several guests, is Kenny B and Joshua Allen, etc. This is another voidable moment here with Ndamukong Suh. So we'll see what happens necessarily with those contract details in the coming days. But, boys, we have the big fish in the middle back. Number 93, the real number 93, is back in Tampa, ready to win us another championship. I'm excited about this one. I'm a big Suh guy. He's one of the best we got on defense. He's one of the nasties on defense. He brought the heat last regular season against Aaron Rodgers and the likes of that. Man, I'm just looking forward to him continuing to bring that veteran leadership in the 2021 season. And I know a lot of time he hypes up that full crowd stadium. Hopefully we get a full crowd stadium this year. Couldn't have one last year with COVID.
Getting him back is huge. He's just the attitude he brings, the play. He's still he's elite on the D line still, like borderline elite to elite, I would say. And the biggest thing to me with bringing him back is we don't have a hole. Like, there's no okay, we've got to draft this starting position in the draft. We got you could kind of argue running back to an extent, although I think Rojo would be fine carrying the load, and Vaughn as our third down back. I don't think we necessarily would have to have Lenny back. So to me, you can just take the best player available. You draft in, depth, the guy you expect to, develop. It's just, it puts us in such a good position in the draft, especially. And I don't know. I know a lot of people, I don't know. It's the running back idea in first seems like it's picking up steam. I thought I was kind of alone on that for a while, but that's one of the biggest reasons I'm so high on a running back in the first this year, just because I don't like the idea of drafting someone that's going to be dead in the first round. To me, first round Super Bowl winning team or not, you need to be drafting a starter, impact player, and just the way the defensive line falls this year, I don't know. I'm not too big on them in the first round, but like I said, bringing back Suh, it just opens up the door. We can do whatever we want. Trade out, trade up, trade down. We can get a guy on the D-line, offense. We can just do – it just opens up so many possibilities. It puts us in a really good position.
Yeah, Stunna, what say you? I'd be a fan of trading down, honestly. I'd be a fan of trading down for sure. I'm interested in I'm never a fan of taking a running back in the first round, but if we do take a running back, I would hope we would trade down, accumulate an extra draft pick, perhaps.
Real quick, not to interrupt you, Greg Allman made a great point because someone else suggested that, and he said this team is so stacked. He said even if we just keep the 6 or 7 draft picks now, he said they're not all going to make the team. He said the team is too good. So, we keep accumulating picks. He said that's just potentially more people that won't make the team. It's crazy to say that out loud with our Buccaneers, but that's how stacked this roster is. we might be better off trading up and losing draft picks just because most likely they're not going to make the team. It's crazy to think.
We could also make it work by trading for draft picks in future years. Yeah. As next year, we're going to have a lot of free agents. So maybe, if you could trade down for your first pick, your first rounder this year, you get a second rounder and perhaps a first rounder next year. Say if you could trade down and get a late round first rounder next year and a late round second rounder this year, I say you do it, say, I don't know, just say unlikely scenario, but the Chiefs come calling, hey, we'll give you next year's first and this year's second or third for this year's first for you. I think you got to pull the trigger on something like that considerably. That is a good point you and Greg Allman do bring up, though, because how crazy is that? I mean, we are wowed when we see one member of a draft class getting released from a team. I remember a couple years back, he didn't quite get cut first game, but he took before the first week, but he took steroids. He was a Mizzou D tackle for the Bucs. Beckner, he got cut a couple weeks into the year. Even that was surprising. We've had our fair share of draft picks that haven't made the team, such as Raymond Calais this past year. Sorry about that. Raymond Calais this past year, and the pass rusher out of Temple. I'm drawing.
Shap Russell.
Yep.
Yeah, Russell. Yeah.
Shap Russell. So we've seen it happen here in Tampa where these guys get released. We've had 2 releases this past season. Hopefully we don't run into that problem, but I think we're going to, potentially see, I don't know. We'll see what happens with our tight ends. I don't hope any of them go anywhere, but if we keep keeping these guys, I feel like we have to create more space than what we have right now, whether that's extending guys or getting rid of somebody.
Yeah. I think more extensions and restructures to come. I'm praying Jensen. Jensen's one of my favorite players, and like Bucco said, he's top 3. I would say top 2 in the league at his position. He's still fairly young. I mean, it's completely reasonable to believe he's got another 2 to 4 elite years in him. So I would extend him. Then you got guys like Marpet and Mike Evans said he went to them saying, "What can I do? How can I help? I want to get everybody back." So I think AB's coming back. They're going to try and free up some stuff, but with these extensions and getting good deals, I was really worried we were going to lose Braid, but I'm starting to think Braid's going to stay. I think Brady likes Braid. I think he wants Braid here, and OJ, even though I think his ceiling's much higher, like, you can't trust him to stay healthy and play all 16 games. Like, as much as we want him to, we'd all love to see it. Like, I don't know how you can count on that. So we need to find a way to keep Braid, but there's a couple more guys we can restructure and extend. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll see with Lenny pretty quick. If he's not signed within like the next, like this week, I'm going to say he's not going to be here. Like, it's but we'll see. That's obviously just a guess.
Yeah, the thing is, I agree that AB is probably the next man up on the radar when we do decide on a veteran, but you never know. A guy like Leonard Fournette, a couple of his options might have closed with Seattle getting Chris Carson to come back, New England getting James White to re-sign. So a couple options that Leonard Fournette had were New England and Seattle. Now they both re-sign running backs. Potentially that means he would take less money to come back to Tampa. And that would be interesting as well, how that would trickle effect into the draft if we did bring back Leonard Fournette. I think we'd be more inclined to trade down and get a late round running back, not late round, but a second round running back then instead. Even as we said, even if we don't add up the picks in this year's draft, it's worth trading down, in my opinion, for next year's picks or the year after that, because we see it. A lot of these guys have 1 or 2 years left on their contracts. We're going to need bodies at some point in time. We might not have room for them this year, but next year we will for sure. I can't see us having the cap and doing this all again next year with some of those names. But once again, I could be wrong. We could extend some of those guys before next year even happens. But Chris Godwin turns around. He's a free agent again next year as well. Gronk's a free agent again next year. Sue's a free agent again next year. A lot of these guys are bringing back this year are already turning around and being free agents again next year. So it's just going to be impossible to see what happens when next year comes. I'll be interested to see. Once again, you are listening to the Buccateers podcast. It is a little shorter episode tonight, but we're still having some good conversation. We're talking free agency. We're talking draft. Bucco the Bruce left the building, so it's just three of us in the house tonight. Cody G and Stunna ACATs couldn't join in. We did get our first ever T-shirts in today, and we're going to start doing some giveaways on our Twitter. So be on the lookout at Buccateers Twitter. You could win one of these creamsicle NFL draft T-shirts that I am wearing right now. We will post the front of the design on Twitter at a later time. We posted the back tonight, but it says 30-second never felt so good 2021 draft, and the back says Buccateers podcast established 2020, July 2020. So these creamsicle beauties are available, limited quantity available. We're going to be doing some giveaways as a thank you to all of our listeners from now throughout the draft. We're going to be giving one away each on draft night and a couple before the draft. So just be on the lookout and paying attention to our Twitter, once again, at Buccateers. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have, a prediction. Who are we going to draft in the first round? If you predict it right, your name could go in a drawing to get a T-shirt, things like that and so forth. So we're just having fun on the Buccateers. We're excited that we do have a T-shirt out there. Be on the lookout for more T-shirts in the near future. I know we might be planning a schedule release T-shirt, wink, wink. We got our own friend Melanie B helping us with that. Shout out to you, Mel. So we'll see what happens here. We're excited to keep growing the show a little bit and talking football. We love talking with you guys. We appreciate the views, and we look forward to continue bringing the same heat in 2021. We're trying for a live show for the schedule release, trying for a live show on a draft. Next year, pre-shows, post-shows, we're going to come at you guys live a little bit more as well. So thanks again to our following for sticking with us. Guys, I want to talk a little bit more about the draft here before we wrap up here later on in the episode. But right now, we got draft talk going on. If we did stay at one and say – no great running backs are available, say the ones we're targeting, rumored to target, are not there, what would you target, Cody? What other position may catch your eye, or would you definitely trade back at that point in time if one of those top-of-the-line running backs weren't available?
Well, my favorite is Javonte Williams. It's probably like 99% sure he'll be there. Najee, who most people have as like the number one running back, he may not be there, but if they're all gone, say we couldn't trade back, I would just do either defensive tackle or edge, whoever I had rated the highest. Maybe I could see like a guard, assuming that they don't re-sign Kappa next year. If there's, it's just the trenches or edge, whoever's the highest on their board, either guard, tackle, defensive tackle or edge rusher. It sucks. It's just not it's like a consensus weak class for all that edge, maybe at the very high end. It's just a weird draft class this year. So I do like your idea. If we could trade down for picks next year, I like that idea because it's probably not going to be a weak draft 2 years in a row, but this is just unless you need like a wide receiver, maybe a quarterback, it's just not a very good draft this year.
Yeah, Stunna, what say you, Cody? I agree. It's not a great draft this year for a lot of positions. There are a few good ones, but not positions we need really. So interesting there. Stunna, what say you? Say we do keep that first round pick. Say the running backs Cody mentioned, Harris, Williams, are unavailable. Who are you looking at in that first round pick? Edge, interior lineman, backup O-line depth, another D back. What are you looking at?
Well, originally I was thinking edge, but I actually like what Cody was talking about, where we could upgrade at right guard. And you put a first round pick in there as opposed to, Stinny or a third round, round pick in Kappa. You get a first round grade in there at right guard. Maybe you can improve the offensive line there. As far as running back, that has a lot to do with playoff Lenny and, what we do back there. But I'm on team trade back at all times anyway. And also, Buccaneers Report had a thing the other day with Warren Sapp. He said it's a historically bad defensive tackle draft. So it was very important that we get Suback. He said that like Sapp said, like only on defensive tackles is worth taking as a third round grade. So we need an edge. There are some good edges in here that could help us in the future because we don't know if Anthony Nelson can stay healthy. As that swing end. But I don't know, man. I love offensive line. Like I said, the trenches, we can never have enough. I would, with a defensive tackle, we do need interior D line with our age there. But we're in win now mode. That's where you take a running back in the first round. You're in win now mode if you can upgrade a position. Or, even, I don't know, receiver if we don't get AB back. But, I mean, we're so loaded at receiver, I definitely wouldn't think that. But I don't know, man, because I think you need to address the defense with the age, but our defense is loaded. So really, the offensive line, like I like the center out of Wisconsin Whitewater, and I love that guy. And if you get him a 32, be a valuable pick.
Yeah, at some point the GM just thinks best available. If you, like Cody mentioned, we have a lot of guys on our team already. At some point,
well, it can't be best available though, because if a wide receiver's there, he's the best available.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, even then though,
it's got to be best available and need. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be like the best available edge. Like I think, like you do best available edge at the end of first, the best available edge, best available running back in the second. Best available interior D line at the end of the third, and then from there on out, just try to fill in. We still need DBs because we lost our third safety in our fourth corner. So we still need to address the DBs at some point.
I'm going to throw something at you, though. And I'm not saying this is likely. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Just say Antonio Brown does walk. Next year, Chris Godwin becomes a free agent. Buccaneers were rumored to take a wide receiver in the first round last year. Obviously, they didn't. They ended up going the smart route and getting Tristan Wirfs. Do you think that they would, any chance, pull the trigger on a wide receiver this year if Antonio Brown doesn't come back? And if they know that perhaps, I mean, we all think and we all hope that Godwin is talking long-term extension. That's a hope here. But you never know. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they know they won't be able to afford him next year. I'm just simply playing devil's advocate. Would you rule out the possibility of a wide receiver in the first round? I don't want it to happen. I don't see it happening. But I'm just saying, if they do know Antonio Brown's not coming back, just say if they think Chris Godwin isn't here long term, well, then all of a sudden that leaves you next year with Mike Evans, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, Justin Watson. Next thing you know, you need another big name wide receiver in that group. All I'm saying is if you did add a wide receiver this year, maybe that is, a little foreshadow of perhaps Chris Godwin's future, especially Antonio Brown's future, but maybe even Godwin's future. I don't think it happens, but you never know. It was rumored last year. What do you guys think about that?
I'd never say never. I mean, they might be in love with the idea of running back. They might hate the idea of a running back. They might think, like most of us think, none of these trench guys have a first round grade. There's no telling how they grade these guys, and who they have ranked as the best wide receiver might fall to them. You never know. So I would never say never, but I would think that is probably about the most likely position we would be drafting. But I mean, yeah, anything's possible.
I thought last year we were rumored for Jadeveon Cleveland.
Kinlaw?
Yeah, exactly. The guy that 49ers got. Because honestly, last year I didn't think we were going to get one of them 4 tackles. I thought they'd be long gone. And I thought maybe, we get a second round tackle and hope he doesn't, get quarterback beat up. We just kind of lucked into the fact that we were right there with Kinlaw, and he was such a good player. 49ers had to get him, that they knew we wanted him too. That's why we had to trade up. But I think we've done so well drafting in the late round with receivers. We got Godwin in the third round. We got Scotty Miller. He was a late rounder. Of course, Tyler Johnson was a late rounder. We got the kid Watson, even though he didn't really pan out, but he was a late rounder. So to me, we do better drafting receivers late, and we do better drafting the lineman type early.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I was just playing devil's advocate, and thank gosh we did not draft Isaiah Wilson, who's one of the tackles last year, because poor guy is off to a rough start in his NFL career, already cut from Miami after being traded from Tennessee after only playing a handful of snaps last year. He was one of those top 5 elite tackles, ranked top 6, ranked last year from Georgia in last year's draft, and that's something. With COVID happening, a lot of these teams did not get to meet a lot of these guys face to face last year. A lot of different things happened for the draft. You really didn't get to meet these guys and see their true personalities. So it'll be interesting to see how that factors in to the draft this year in the 2021 season. You know, Bucs might not be inclined to take some people if they're not to meet with them face to face. And we got spring college football going on right now. So who's to say some good small school prospects don't ball out this spring right now, say from an Eastern Illinois University or from an Austin Pay, et cetera, et cetera. What if they really stand out, make a noise for themselves? We do have an extra 7th round pick. They could become Cinderella stories. So guys, we are seeing spring football happen. These guys could be drafted. Only 7 small school guys were drafted last year. That is low. The average of past decade before that was anywhere from 20 to 22. And by small school guys, I mean non-bowl eligible colleges. There were only 7 last year drafted. COVID had a big part to do with that. And now that's why I think this draft class may be perceived as even more weak, as Cody said, because we don't know a lot of these small school guys like L.A. Marpet from Hobart. He was one of these small school cats that came out. Ryan Jensen was a small school guy. Alex Kapp was a small school guy. A lot of these teams with COVID aren't going to have the chance or opportunity to draft guys like that. I don't know if you guys ever think of scenarios like that, but I know
I think those guys all played in your bowl, though, Tone.
What's up, Stunna?
I think all those guys all played in the Senior Bowl, the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. So I think
the spring guys did.
No. The guys you mentioned that were drafted: Marpet, Jensen, Kappa. Those guys all got their, because you can't. It's hard to judge someone at a small school, but when they go to the Senior Bowl and they compete against, guys that go to BCS schools, and if they go out like I like the guy from Wisconsin Whitewater this year, go out there and you show that you can get it done. That's impressive. So I think you got to find ways to market yourself if you come from a small school. That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, Whitewater's been one of those schools, too, that does produce football players. Wisconsin Whitewater, that is, they produce some mid-level championships at the college football level as well. Cody, what say you, spring football at all? Do you think it increases any of these kids' chances, perhaps? They're playing football right now. Do you think the Buccaneers are watching any of these spring games going on? Like, Eastern Illinois, my alum, there's seasons happening right now. They canceled it in the fall, so they're playing right now. Does this help small school kids potentially get drafted, do you think? Or does it not really have an impact?
I would think it does. They're playing now when no one else is playing. Teams are still busy. They're reviewing all the other guys, but there's no one else to really watch right now other than the pro days and stuff like that. So, not to say more of them will get drafted or less of them will get drafted, but I would think if anything, it's a good thing. It should help them for sure. So we'll see how that goes. And we definitely know Light is not afraid to take a small school guy, and it's worked out pretty much every time. That dude, he is amazing at drafting some offensive line. He has gotten eye for that. So yeah, I think it's a good thing for them. I'm glad, they're getting showcased. That I was so bored the other night when the game, I don't even remember what schools it was, but why it was football, so I watched it. And I'm sure it's like that with a lot of people, that I would be surprised if someone doesn't get a shot because of that. A guy that, in a normal year might not have gotten a chance. So that's good for them. Hopefully there will be a surprise story come out. Be some good come out of this.
I feel the exact same way as you. I just love when go on, Stunna.
I got guys at the
I think we're losing Stunna a little bit, but
pro day here that they're out, so it's going to be a crazy draft.
yeah, Stunna, repeat. Go on again. We lost you there for a little bit momentarily. Oh, geez, I think Stunna is just out of here. I'd seen he was on the move, moving around a little bit, so we'll go on and we'll see what happens there. But Stunna is momentarily on the move. But Cody, I agree with you. I think for some of these guys, it's going to really, really help their draft stock. I've seen it on the TV the other night. I was really interested in it because it is football. It reminds me of like the college version of the XFL, kind of. We seen the XFL a little bit last year. I got to interview some guys who knew some guys in the XFL when I did my interviews with Skew for the draft last year, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just interesting. I think a lot of the small school guys will get drafted. And like you said, Jason Light knows a thing or two about these small school guys. And we know he's not afraid to release guys he drafts either, as we've seen two from this past draft class get released. And Stunna is here again, but we've seen them get released. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this year's draft. We got coming up. What's the exact date on the draft again? I always forget when I'm trying to think. I know it's the April.
Right?
Yeah, April.
I forget.
I'm on a
Later
podcast.
April 20-something.
April. Let me see. Yeah, April 20-something for sure. Let's see, NFL draft. I can't find a good date on it. NFL draft date, time. I know, I see Mike Greenberg was, okay, so it begins Thursday, April 29th, and then Saturday, May 1st. I seen Mike Greenberg was announcing one of the draft channels this year. I think on ABC that was. So I don't know if you're a fan of Greeny on ESPN at all. I don't watch much ESPN nowadays, honestly, but that should be interesting. And the draft is always one of these things where Bucs fans look forward to and covet it. But this year we're sitting back and, like our shirt says, 32nd never felt so good. I don't know about you, but it's going to be, man, I'm going to have my feet up that whole night. I'm going to be nervous to see who ends up getting taken at 32, but it's going to feel good being the last pick of the draft unless we trade up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, dude. This might be the first time I don't see the Bucs make the first round pick in a while. I got to work, Friday. I don't know if I can stay up until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, I'll take that over picking high any day.
Yeah, Stunna, how about you? Do you agree? Like, are you going to make the first round pick of the Bucs? Stunna? I think
No, I'm here. Can you repeat that question?
do you think are you going to be around by the time the Bucs pick on the first night of the draft? We pick 32nd, presumably, unless we trade up. We're not used to this. It's going to be a late pick for sure. Are you going to be around? Or are you going to stay up and watch the Buccaneers take their 32nd selection? I know, a lot of people have work. We might have to catch it the next morning if we don't make it up in time. What say you?
Well, I gotta be a Ray J. No, I'll just play it. And I doubt that the loose cannons or somebody gonna do a draft party. No, man, I'll probably stay up, man. I don't know though, because if it's Thursday and I have to work the next day, I might just fall asleep, watching it. But I'm gonna try to stay up because I'm a true fan, and Bucs fans, the draft is usually our Super Bowl, so that's always a big deal.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we'll still have Friday and Saturday to watch of the draft, even if we don't make it up Thursday. But damn it, I'm going to try my best. April 29th, I'm really looking forward to that because I'm visiting Tampa in a couple weeks as well. So April will be a nice month for me. I'll be in Tampa. Then you got the NFL draft to end off April. We got baseball starting up. A bunch of great things happening in the month of April. Fellas, nonetheless, we knew this one wouldn't be too long for the Buccateers. We just wanted to give a quick update. Once again, the Buccateers does have our first T-shirts out. You will be seeing more of them get distributed. Not a lot were made, so be on the lookout for giveaways and ways you could win. They're NFL draft T-shirts. We're gonna have NFL draft games, etc. They're Buccateers T-shirts, the creamsicles, and be on the lookout for a live show during the draft, a live show during the schedule release. Be on the lookout for next week's show coming back at you. We're going to be looking to add a very special guest there. Hopefully we can have a special guest preview more of the draft next week, as it will be less than a month away, and we will be in the month of April for next week's episode. Fellas, I always have fun talking Buccaneers football. We had some technical difficulties tonight, but it was fun shooting the shit, talking some draft, talking re-signing Smith, talking bringing Sue back. You never have dull moments in the Buccaneers, especially when they're Super Bowl champions. Defending Super Bowl champions, may I add.
Yes, sir. Crazy offseason. I just can't wait for the draft and then the season to start again. It feels like it's taken forever already.
Feels like it's taken too long, honestly. Like I'm in the middle of I'm still stuck in last year's mode. Like I know last year's over, but we won the Super Bowl, so it's it's hard to get over last year, and it'll be fun watching 2021 season happen. But man, when you win that Super Bowl, you get so attached to the damn team that wins it. You just want to keep winning and live in that moment forever. I don't know about you guys. That's how I feel, at least. But every Sunday, I just want to watch a Bucs team from last year. I'm sure this year, obviously, I'm going to fall in love with this team all over again. This new roster, it's a lot of the same guys, but every year is a little bit new. A little turnover occurs. So no team's quite the same, but we're going for two. We're going to make it happen. Stunna, what say you? Long off season ahead, yeah, but always a good time talking Bucs football.
Oh, yeah. Anybody who remembers when Gossard Cherilus played offensive tackle for the Bucs is excited about the Donovan Smith signing. And anyone that remembers what the 2003 Buccaneers look like are forward to us having Brady and a real program and a real structure and a great head coach, BA, that's going to lead us into back-to-back. And we know that we're going to look good this year. We're going to perform good. And that's the thing, man. We got to defend our title. Like you say, now you're the hunted. We have to go out there and we have to overwhelm teams. And that's why it's so important we get our roster back. And it's a great time to be a Bucs fan.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great time to be a Bucs fan, and it's been a lot of fun podcasting this season. I can't wait to continue to do it. We're going to have to do something fun for the 1 year of the Buccateers in July as well. We're going to have to think of something creative to do. Fellas, final thoughts segment time already. We're wrapping things up here on the Buccateers, a proud member of the TSPN. It's been incredible. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and all the other outlets as well. Apple, Spotify, give us good reviews. Cody, we'll start with you. Final thoughts as we close out on this off-season edition of the Buccateers.
Final thoughts. I'll show Bucco some love since he's not here. I'm pretty sure either in here or the GC, he was one of the first ones talking about maybe kicking the tires on Alden Smith. He's been released. He had his issues a few years back, but seems like he's got it together. I think he had like 48 tackles and 5 sacks last year for the Cowboys. So I would think if we could get him for cheap, he would automatically be our best backup pass rusher. So, maybe signing someone like Donovan Smith has something to do with that. Maybe we can extend somebody else. But if we can get him for cheap, you can't have enough pass rushers. So, maybe we can look at a guy like that. I think we could get more production from someone like that than we could a rookie, first-round rookie. It's not a great edge class, at least not late in the draft where we'll be picking. So I'd like to maybe go that route. Maybe they're looking at somebody like that. I remember we were talking about him, like Justin Houston. So I hope they're still looking at that. And then, obviously AB and Lenny potentially coming back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get AB back, coming back for sure. Lenny, if we could afford him, for sure. I like Alden Smith. I like that idea. I would not be against that. I'd be more so bringing him in for cheap than, drafting one in the first round. I think Alden Smith is hungry to have success again for sure. And he didn't do bad last year at all. with the Cowboys. I know they're not bringing him back, so we'll see what happens with Aldon Smith. The Bucs could kick the tires on him, so shout out to Bucco Bruce on that idea. Good job mentioning that again, Cody. I forgot about that. That's a good sneak peek right there, Aldon Smith. Stunna, what say you in your final thoughts of this Buccateers off-season edition episode?
I just got to say, man, long-suffering Bucs fans, it was so great to have Jason Light and the GM, and we're so great to have BA the head coach, man. That makes a huge difference. I don't think we've ever had that combo of a GM and a head coach that's both thinking in the same direction. So we're very fortunate. I would love to upgrade the offensive line. We lost Joe Haig. I like Stinny. I like Kappa, but let's throw some competition in there. We also, I don't know if we have a swing left tackle or not, but we might need to find a good offensive tackle in case we do have an injury, maybe in the late rounds. But it's a weak edge class, but it's an exceptional running back class. So don't be surprised if the Bucs do take a running back at 32.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have been campaigning for such. I know my man Cody G is a big advocate on a running back at 32. CG for RB at 32. We'll see what happens. I'm not ruling out, and I'm not against it. I'm just saying if we do bring back Leonard Fournette, I just don't want to see one taken that high, as we'd have Rojo, Vaughn, Lenny F, and a first-round running back. I think that's a little overkill in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. As far as our O-line goes, Haig's gone, and then we still haven't re-signed guys like Wells and Watford, so who knows? Watford was only on our team during the playoff run. Obviously, Wells was here all year last year. Who knows what happens with guys like that? If we could bring back Wells for cheap again with the familiarity he brings and the depth he could bring, why not do that if it, pushes us off of overdrafting some O-linemen? Sure, bring back Wells if he's cheap, whatever. But nonetheless, follow Earl Watford on Twitter, Bucs fans. This guy cooks up a lot of great-looking food. He's actually in the kitchen right now. I just seen his Twitter. So that's my final thoughts of the night is, Bucs fans, if you ain't following Earl Watford yet, go make sure you do follow Earl Watford, Super Bowl champion offensive lineman with the Buccaneers. Free agent right now. He might be coming back. He might not be. We'll see what happens. But one hell of a cook. He's always cooking in the kitchen. And speaking of cooking in the kitchen, we fucking roasted some good conversations tonight, fellas. I think we had some good talks with the Buccateers. Besides Bucco's mic shit in the bed and Stunna walking around, losing signal. Can't help things like that. We're sorry for some connection troubles, but it's been a fun episode. It's always a great time talking, and we look forward to next week with the special guest again. Once again, I'm Tampa Tones. We were joined tonight by Cody G, Stunna, and we were briefly joined by the quiet Bucco the Bruce. We look forward to being back in next week's episode with you guys, hopefully a special guest, as we preview more of the draft and more of the offseason. Who knows what signings or re-signings we might have to talk about next week. This week, we had a couple of good ones as well. So you never know. Every week, more and more crew are coming back. Maybe next week we'll have AB and Lenny F to talk about. That's just how this offseason's been going. So my prediction is we will be talking about them in the near future. I'm Tampa Tones, and from part of the crew, follow us on YouTube and Twitter today at Buccateers, and be on the lookout for T-shirt giveaways. We'll see you guys next week. As always, go Bucs.